So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Campbell O'Bleans. I'm the Fundraising Chair, and this is a project I have been working on for the past couple of weeks, and it has been our Aim to Support the Troops initiative, which is a fundraiser to have care packages shipped off to soldiers all around the world. We have students at UNC Charlotte fund it. You get to pick the items you want to put in. You can even put in a special little note that we're trying to work out. And this is all the information that I have come across. I've actually spoken to someone at Fort Bennings in Georgia. I've spoken to someone here in Fort Bragg in Fayetteville. And they actually just told me to go to the military.com. So I kind of felt dumb going the old-fashioned way and calling and talking to them, but I guess it's still nice. So they sent me all of this information, just stuff that we should or shouldn't send, tons of things like energy bars, whatever, that kind of stuff you think they may need, stuff from home. So that's what I've been working on. It's a really cool idea. I think it's good for both parties. Obviously great to help out a student organization, awesome to help out the troops whenever you can. So hopefully we'll give you guys some more information when we'll be out there, and if anyone's interested and willing to help us set up or help us implement, it's a great resume builder. You can say that you participated in a fundraiser, even a charity fundraiser. So yeah, we'll have more information for that for you guys sometime soon.
Our topic of the week, and he actually presented as well on this, so.
Okay, so glad I've already introduced myself by telling you guys what project I've been working on, but I was asked by Drew to present to you guys on something that I may know something about, and something I've been doing a little bit of research on for the past couple of years is investing, because I know that everyone in here likes money, correct? Does anyone here not like money? No? Okay, silent, of course. So, this is a very basic intro presentation on forms of investing that you can do even as a college student or entering into your young adult life. This won't touch on lots of key terms and all that kind of stuff because I know you guys stare at PowerPoints for most of your life. I do because I'm a student just like everyone else in here. So try to talk not from the PowerPoint but with the PowerPoint is how I like to say it. So I like to get started. This quote by Warren Buffett. Do you guys know who Warren Buffett is? He's one of the top 5 richest men on the planet. Very good friends with Mr. Bill Gates, and they actually are what are known as philanthropic billionaires, meaning they're going to pledge to give back most of their wealth. So I like to center my idea of investing or business around men like him and not men who want to, or men or women who want to keep their wealth all the way until they die, because I don't think it benefits the world. So he says, buy stocks in businesses that are so wonderful that an idiot can run them, because sooner or later one will. And essentially what he's saying is that if you buy stocks in a business that'll sooner or later take off, you'll be there right with them, because they're not going to know how to do things. They're not going to know how to do this. And for example, McDonald's. One of the people who first invested in McDonald's said, no way, this is being run by people who are too finicky, no way, no way. And he dropped a 10% share. He sold it for $20,000 in around 1953. And at that point, McDonald's was only 3 locations. That 10% share in McDonald's today is worth over $153 million in McDonald's net worth. So think about what that man lost by not trusting a business and going with it. But that's a great example into why investing is a risk, no matter what you do. So let's get started here. First thing you have to understand about investing is debt can kill any dream you have in investing. If you have debt, it's all math, because that's all math is. It's multiplying your money through investment. Debt prevents you from being able to invest wisely. For example, if you have $4,000 worth of investment, but $4,000 in credit card debt, as the example shows up here, with a 14% credit card rate, which is pretty standard coming out for college students with low credit scores. You may net with your return on investment about $480 at the end of the year. That's great. You turned $4,000 and made $480 on it. Yet Visa bills you $560 for your $4,000 in credit card debt, which is higher than your return on investment. You see, it seems like a lot of terms it's very basic. You're trying to reduce your debt so that your money that you can throw towards your investments are not being swallowed up by loan sharks, Visa, colleges, whatever it may be. Once you've figured out your debt or trying to reduce it, and now don't think that because you have debt you can't invest. That's a misconception. It's that you can't have debt with extremely high interest rates. So once you've tried to tackle that, you set up an emergency fund. And an emergency fund is exactly what this picture over here looks like. stowing money away in a jar for a rainy day. And the point about this for investing, it may seem simple, but it's rated highly amongst credited organizations like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Goldman Sachs, a huge venture capitalist firm, about setting up an emergency fund. And they say about 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now this is because, say you're about to throw $4,000 that the average person is not going to towards investing, that average person now has that $4,000 to use for their everyday life. You, on the other hand, being a smart, intelligent, wealth managing investor, are going to put your $4,000 towards investing. So they're saying, uh-oh, what if you invested in Campbell Corp and I decide to go off the rails and my company tanks? You invested everything you had in me and now you have nothing to live on. That's simple. I know I'm overstating it. It's very easy. Why you shouldn't invest this money, it's a blanket. It's in case that Campbell Corp flies off the rails and that you guys don't have anything anymore. Can you invest money in the future? Of course you can. That's the beauty of this. An emergency fund is only for someone who's a startup investor, someone who doesn't think that they might make it out or doesn't know too much about the market. But say your $4,000 in living expenses, you just made $400 million in the stock market. Of course you can take your emergency fund away. That's just a startup thing to start you out at basic. You've just tackled your debt, you've reduced it, and you have some money set aside. Now the biggest thing with investing is don't go into it too quickly. That should be said with everything, with a big decision in life, but as with things like investment, you have to understand that there's things you have to consider. And the two that I think are the most important are how much you're willing to invest and how long you can wait on that money. And what I mean by that is how long you can put $4,000 in a box and ship it away and not see it again. If you can wait 10 years, you have certain options. If you can only wait 5 months, you have other options. So you need to think in your head, how much am I willing to spend? How long can I wait on it? And which am I going to do research on? Which market am I going to do research on? Am I going to go for single stocks? Am I going to go for real estate? But you'll see a little bit more about that later. Okay, so this is a very simple breakdown for if you've planned, you've tackled your debt, you have your emergency fund, which of these 3 categories you fit yourself in as willing to spend. Are you in and around $50, $500, or $5,000? Because that factor will determine what you should be sending your assets towards, because there's options for the $50 investor and there's options for the $5,000 investor. But both have different ups and downs, of course, as when you put in more money, you may get more out. Cool. So for the economy investor, the startup, the $50 to $500 range, say you're a college student and you are seriously wanting to become Kevin O'Leary on the Shark Tank. You want to become a venture capitalist someday, so you're starting now. Say you want to only put in $25 every couple months to the stock market. That's possible. It is, and you can get returns on that, sometimes even doubling it in a matter of weeks. It just depends on what you choose. And the 2 biggest for low-income investors are mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. Now, I'm not going to talk about them because they're essentially the same thing. The only difference between the two is that a mutual fund is managed professionally by someone on Wall Street, most likely. They are someone who knows the market, they know trends, and they know if it's going to dip, so that's what you're paying a little bit more in your mutual fund. But an exchange-traded fund is the same thing. They're both just pools of money that you pool together, so everyone in this room could be a mutual fund, where we all put $5 to try to invest in Bojangles. And then when that stock returns, if Drew gave me $5, I go, wow, what percentage was that? Here's what you get out of that. So pretty much it's a safe way of investing. It allows you to not do the work. You can just put the money in, and someone who's much smarter and that's in the area than you are will do the investing for you. So for the $50, $500 range, this is the path of least resistance, in my opinion, for someone starting out fresh. Now there's the mid-range investor. The mid-range investor, you may be out of college, doing pretty well, landed yourself a job, maybe not, maybe mom and dad said, here's some extra money, I don't know what your situation is, but you got a couple more bucks than the average guy. Now, people laugh when I try to say this, but gold and silver is actually a really good thing to invest in. And I know you see these commercials about gold and silver dropping, or buy these coins and stuff, and it's not necessarily buying those mint coins that they overcharge you for. You're buying gold and silver in its weight, not just some memorabilia coin. Those are the rip-off ones. It's easy to distinguish. And the reason being that precious metals just don't really fall off. They go down, they go up, but not like other things. Salt used to be worth close to $100 for a pound 250 years ago, and now you can go and buy pounds of it for pennies. Think of it like that. Salt's going to depreciate, but gold and silver really don't. As we transition to electronic currency, that market may change, and as with a lot of things in the future, you have to be very careful, but gold and silver is a great way. Again, another option for the mid-range investor is to trade through E-Trade. It's very simple. They charge you anywhere from $5 to $10 to make a single trade, which is relatively low for someone who's trading a lot, and you are able to buy stocks all throughout the day. And E-Trade does all the work for you. They do all the research. They have great technology at their disposal. They even have apps that you can be walking around eating your lunch and making trades. So Scott Trade, E-Trade, the one with the baby, I think, is the E-Trade advertisement. You may know that from the famous marketing campaign. They're very, very good. And the best part is, if you guys were here for like the app vested presentation last week, it's kind of like that. They do the work for you. You just bring them your idea and you bring them the money and what your goals are. Real estate investment, I just kind of put it up here because they have to be mentioned, but real estate investments are something you probably shouldn't dabble in unless you have a lot of knowledge in, because as you saw in 2008, I don't know if many of you know this, but there was a bubble that erupted in the real estate market in 2008 when the economy crashed. People lost billions of dollars, so I would say take real estate with a grain of salt. And then there's the high roller investor, and this is when you, as your adult, you have your career, you have your money set aside, you have your family, whatever it may be, and you want to grow that wealth exponentially. This is where that step goes forward. If you have $5,000 plus, you can do a lot here. And one of the things people don't understand is your simple bank account savings can offer you a pretty good access to having your money sit there and then grow over time without you touching it. And when you put your money into a savings account, it becomes liquid. Liquid means you can pull from that savings account whenever you want. If you want $100 out, you can. Now, there's some differences in savings accounts that are not liquid, where they lock your assets up, but they double the interest rate per se. So you can't take out of it until you're 65, but then you have a lot more money. So a money market account, very similar to a savings account, except you have limited access to your money like I talked about. But the benefit is, if you don't care about waiting on your money, which is what I talked about, the how long you can wait, you can double your interest rates on that money instead of a normal savings account. So if you're okay with not having access to $4,000 for 10 years, you might walk out with 8. See what I'm saying? It just depends on what you're willing to do, how long you're willing to wait. Certificates of deposit, this is for someone who has thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, who is willing to wait on it for a long time. A CD is offered by banks, brokerage funds, hedge funds, and they just give you a chance to put away, say, $10,000 for 10 years. The bank uses that money as if it's its own. You're loaning a bank, which is kind of ironic in my opinion, but they use your money however they want, and then at the end of, say, 10 years, they give you your money plus, say, $2,000 on top of it for all the interest and the time that they spent on it. So it's a great way to build kind of a beginner's retirement account, if I could make a kind of comparison to it. And then my favorite, personally, retirement accounts. I think everyone in this room should set up a retirement account. They're the easiest way for you to sit down a little bit of money and then have a lot when you get older. 401k, very basic. Your job does it for you. If you work at a typical Fortune 500 company, they will offer you a 401k plan. And just like taxes, they say, hey, we'll take X amount from your paycheck, and at the end of X amount of years, or whenever you reach retirement age, you pull your 401k out. And that's your assets that have either doubled, tripled, quadrupled, whatever it is. Personal favorite is a Roth IRA. Is an individual retirement account that you don't even have to be employed to operate and own. And you could start it right now if you have, say, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. What you do is you go to an organization like a hedge fund, a Goldman Sachs, a bank, anywhere they can open up an IRA for you legally, and you say, hey, hold this $5,000 for me until I reach retirement age. And they go, okay. So it sits in there, and you can touch it, but the benefit is if you don't touch it, it's untaxed. And we all love not paying taxes, right? I mean, that's plain and simple. You're trying to get around not paying taxes as much as you can. Taxes are essential, but trying to get around them is also a fun game. So play the game. And that's what's good with the Roth IRA, is you can play the game. Your money sits until you retire, and then it becomes a lot more money, as you can see here with my example. Okay, so I'll let you guys read it, but essentially, Sarah is a 20-year-old girl. She puts in, a young woman, she puts in a one-time contribution, which is rare for a Roth IRA. Normally, people donate once a year or once a quarter, but this is just a raw example. She put $5,000 when she's 20. When she's 65, it's now worth $160,000. That's not a lot for retirement, but that's a lot for her not touching it or doing anything. You're not paying anyone for that. You're not doing anything for it. It is completely untaxed, and it is now $160,000. Although she had to wait until she was retired, that's the best part of it. You can retire early if you establish your Roth IRA soon enough. If you put in enough money, you can retire when you're 35 and have $1.5 million in the bank account to do whatever you want with the rest of your life. I'd mention investing it, but it's up to you. The point is to retire early, in my opinion, because I don't want to work that long. I don't know about you guys. I think the point is to work smarter, not harder. So if you can retire 30 years younger than everyone else, you're going to be having fun on a beach in a beach somewhere, golfing, doing whatever you got to do with your money. So I'd say if you were to take anything from this, is to focus on your retirement. And I know that's not a lot to think about when you're a college student, you're in your 20s and you're young and everything, but retirement comes, and when it comes, if you have money and you don't have to work, I think that's the easiest way to do it. I think that's a great way to end your life and go, wow, I got some money, I'm taking care of my kids, bills are paid off. It's a good way to go. Just three quick bullet points before I leave you guys. Hope I haven't bored you, obviously. Remember that investing takes time. You're not going to be a millionaire in 2 days. Even if you're trading in stocks and you know all the research, the best people at investing, it takes years and years and years, but just be patient. If you're patient, the money will come. Make sure you obviously prepare and that you do your research. And then lastly, diversify. And without going into a lot of details, it means just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't invest in Campbell Core alone, because Campbell Core will eventually tank, and if it does, you lose all of your money. So make sure that when you're investing, especially in stocks, pick 80 companies to put a couple bucks in instead of all of your bucks into one company. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man. That was awesome.
Does anyone have any questions before I sit back down? Cool. All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah, that was definitely good. You know, I've always been interested in stocks myself personally, so when he said he wanted to present about it, I was like, absolutely. So, but thank you for that. Now we're going to move on to our guest presenters from PACPAC, and they will be discussing the opportunities